Hello ladies and gents, boys and girls, my name is Jack. Welcome back to the Bike channel and welcome back to the garage. We've been out on the road for a few weeks now looking at London on the back of a motorcycle, on the back of the Thruxton TFC over there. But this week we're going to stay in the garage and talk about EV motorcycles, electric motorcycles. Are they good? Are they bad? We're going to talk about some of the pros and the cons in this video. So stick around, stay tuned, and I'll see you right after this. Yes everyone, electric motorcycles, touchy subject. Is it going to be a great thing or is it going to be a terrible thing? We don't really know yet. I mean, there's only a few that have come to market and they seem to be welcomed quite positively from what I've seen, but you know, time will tell as to whether or not it can convert the people who are used to internal combustion engines and who like internal combustion engines for all the sounds and the smells and the way they ride and the way you have to ride them. Is it going to convert those people across to EV electric vehicles in time? I'm not so sure. It's a subjective thing, and I suppose only time will tell. Why am I making this video? Well, recently Triumph released some information on a electric vehicle that they are trying to bring to market, and they talked about all the partners that they're having to work with in order to do so. I thought it looked great for a start. No doubt about it, it looks absolutely brilliant. It looks very much like the Speed Triple RS, the new Speed Triple RS, but of course it's not going to sound like that. So you know, I thought maybe we'll come together and have a little bit of a chat about the future of motorcycling. A little disclaimer, I've never ridden an electric motorcycle, which is not ideal if you're making a video about electric motorcycles. However, I have done a lot of research. I've been looking at news articles, reviews, been reading magazines, been watching videos on YouTube as well, trying to gauge whether this whole thing is going to be a big success. And I think I've managed to piece together enough information in order to come out with a good summary at the end of this video. Maybe down in the comments, if I've succeeded in that, you could let me know. Next thing as well, I've got so much information here to cover that I've written some notes. So if you do see me glancing down at any point, apologise if it doesn't look too professional or whatever, but I just couldn't retain all of this information in the short space of time that I had to make this video this week. We're going to start with aesthetics and design first of all, because that's something that's so important to us as motorcyclists in terms of which bike we select to add to our garage or to chain up outside the front or whatever we keep our bikes. In terms of electric vehicles, the pros, all the electric bikes that I've seen seem to maintain the same design philosophy as internal combustion motorcycles. In summary, basically, they still look like motorcycles and not effectively electric bicycles. Which seems a silly thing to say, but it may move that way as the technology shrinks and we end up getting much smaller power units. But at the moment, at least, they all look like conventional motorcycles. For example, a sports bike still looks like a sports bike. Dual sport still looks like a dual sport motorcycle. The next thing about the design is that they're very clean, of course, because you've got a battery instead of an engine. And you also do away with the exhaust pipes and the slip-ons. This is of course as a result of not needing to exhaust any gases overboard after combustion in the way that an internal combustion engine has to. Of course, the battery as well is a very much a cleaner look on the basis that different components on the internal combustion motorcycle need to be shaped in certain ways in order to do their job. It's function dictating for them. The cons, does everyone like a clean look? I personally appreciate an internal combustion engine for its complexity, for the fact that you look at it and you can see on the H2 there the supercharger, for the fact that on the Triumph over there you can see the twin. And for me, that adds to the aesthetic rather than subtracts from it. It's a very subjective thing, and not everybody's going to agree. But I mean, a good example would be a Zero DS versus a Honda CRF 250L. You've got the very clean look of the Zero versus the very intricate looking engine of the Honda. And that's a matter of taste, really, what you prefer. One person will prefer one person will prefer the other, but I just wonder what percentage of people prefer one to the other. Personally, like the craftsmanship, neither pro nor a con is the next thing, so that's the size. To make a point, I will talk about the Ninja H2. It has to house an inline-4 engine plus the supercharger and everything else. I know from recent experience riding all the way from Tunbridge Wells to Aylesbury for a film/television production that I'm working on in the last week or two, that it's very wide, because when I got off after a 2-hour ride, the insides of my thighs were absolutely killing me, and then I had to ride 2 hours back on Ninja H2. Not a good idea, frankly, but I know for a fact it's very wide. If you compare that to a Lightning LS218, which is a comparably high performance electric bike, it's got the a land speed record average of 215 miles an hour in both directions at the Salt Flats, and it also did a very famous hill climb as well in the States, and won, not just in its own category, but out of every single bike it got the lead time. So an incredible bike, but that's got a much slimmer profile than the Ninja H2. Conversely, the Zero SRF has a much wider profile than comparable combustion engine bikes in the same category. Now, this inconsistency is down to individual manufacturer limitations in terms of their batteries. So manufacturers that have battery technology that's further along can make much more streamlined batteries, and manufacturers who do not effectively have much wider batteries, and therefore size is neither a pro nor a con, because in some cases it can be much more slimmer profiles, and in other cases it can be much wider profiles, and I guess that's going to become more standardized as battery technology shrinks across the board and becomes more available for all the manufacturers. Next, we'll move on to sound. Of course, this is going to be a very short one, but I've got some pros with regards to the sound in that on electric motorcycles, obviously they are less antisocial. You're not going to accept your neighbours on a cold morning starting up your litre bike and waking up the dog or whatever. Next, it won't hurt your ears or set off your car alarm. My Ninja H2 sets off the car alarm every single time I start the thing up. And as well, there seems to be, from the videos that I've seen, surprisingly satisfying whirl sound that comes once you're building speed up on an electric vehicle, on an electric bike. This whirl seems to build like a crescendo with your speed until, of course, wind noise and road noise supersede that, and you can presumably no longer hear it. But at least in the lower speeds, when those noises haven't built up quite so much, this whirl seems to build with the increase in drive to the rear wheel. So that sounds quite good. Of course, cons, there are so many of them, but there are two main ones. One is that it is infinitely less theatrical. One of the best things about my Thruxton TFC over there is the noise that it makes. On the overrun, the burbles from the Vance & Hines exhausts, they're incredible. It's also got a really sweet exhaust note on the Ninja H2. Obviously it screams, and then of course you've got the supercharger chirping away as well when those impeller blades go supersonic. Or the blowback, whatever your theory is on that. So yeah, infinitely less theatrical. And less characteristic is the next one. So certain motorcycles have certain exhaust notes that are very characteristic of that motorcycle. And it just adds to the whole thing. It adds to the whole individual experience that you get from particular motorcycles. So that will be all done away with when these things go mainstream. Performance. Now, performance is an interesting one. Pros, there are many pros actually with electric motorcycles, and the first is instantaneous torque. Now, in an internal combustion engine, you have to transfer a linear movement in the cylinders to a twisting movement on the crankshaft, and that is done by suck, squeeze, bang, and then of course blow is when it throws the exhaust gases out overboard. There's none of that. There's literally just a motor that instantaneously, when you turn the throttle, it gives you that straight away. The electricity moves so quickly, gets to the rear wheel, and off you go. In the time that an internal combustion engine has to suck in air, squeeze it with the cylinder, ignite it with the bang, and generate that torsional or that torque in the engine. So instantaneous torque is what I'm basically getting at. Also as well, no optimal power bands. On a internal combustion engine, the gearing is set in such a way that you have optimal power bands within each gear. That's just done away with. The power on an electric bike is completely linear, and yeah, it just builds and builds and builds. You don't have to find the sweet spot. Is effectively what I'm getting at. Smooth is the next thing. So in an internal combustion engine, you've got lots of parts moving, things opening, things closing, things going up and down, things spinning. On a electric vehicle, that is almost completely done away with. There is pretty much one moving part. You've got the battery that runs the motor, and it's one moving part. So very, very smooth. You won't feel vibrations through the chassis, and yeah, it will just be extremely smooth. And this is the feedback that I'm seeing on during my research. There's also as well no loss of power during the gear shifts. Excuse me. So once you've got a internal combustion engine that requires gearing, whenever you change a gear, you lose somewhere between 2 to 6% of your power in that moment. And this is due to friction and inertia. But that's done away with because there is no gears on electric bikes. Literally just turn the throttle and it will go all the way from 0 power up to 100% power without the requirement to change a gear. So 6-speed on the Ninja H2, 6 times I'm losing up to 6% of my power. Cons with regards to power: very little to differentiate one bike from the next, and this goes back to the character. There's no difference really in terms of how the engine operates or the motor operates in certain bands. All that character that you get from one bike to the next on an internal combustion engine is effectively done away with. So a little bit characterless, a little bit soulless, and from one bike to the next, apart from those headline figures of torque and horsepower, acceleration figures, and top speed, you're not going to get much to differentiate one motor from the next. Price. Pros. Well, pros: less moving parts means less wear and means less required maintenance. So if you've literally just got one moving part in the motor versus many moving parts in an internal combustion engine, that's much less to go wrong and much less to wear out. So theoretically, maintenance will be a lot cheaper. Also as well, electricity is cheaper than dinosaurs, at least for now rather. Sure, they're going to be taxing, the electricity that you put into your vehicles in the future, but at the moment it is literally just the price of electricity versus the price of fossil fuels, which is much lower. So at the moment, that's a cheaper running cost. The cons: initial purchase price is presently significantly higher for comparable bikes. This is due to the fact that relatively new technologies need time to develop. A lot of research and development has gone into them, and that cost has to be recuperated and justified as well. And that's passed on, basically that cost is passed on to the consumer. So electric vehicles at the moment, due to previous R&D into these vehicles, as well as the difficulty in creating the technology, at the moment mean that EVs are very expensive. But expect that cost to come down and become more accessible over time as technology improves and less research and development is required. Usability and convenience moves on nicely from price, in that we've got some pros. Home charging is a potential option, although I found recently not on all bikes. The Lightning that we spoke about earlier on, you are unable to charge that at home, and apparently they're in talks with Tesla about trying to do something about that, but you can't do it at home apparently. Cons, if that's changed since my research, please let me know. Cons is range. So of course much lower range than internal combustion engines. Also as well, EV charging infrastructure. So at least here in the UK, although they're making moves towards improving that, electric vehicle charging is not as mainstream, is not as available as petrol or gasoline stations. So that needs to improve. And also as well, charging time. It can take a long time to charge these vehicles up, and you know, there can be a little quick charge stage which can get you X amount of miles, but if you want a full charge and get your full range out of the vehicles, it's going to take some time. Operation next. Operation, how do we operate these vehicles? Well, pros is simpler operation. You just turn it on, twist, and off you go. No clutch, no gears, no rev matching, no biting point, just a throttle. And a good pro, or a good outcome of that pro, is another pro that as a result learning to ride will be more accessible to more people, and we'll have more motorcyclists on the road, and the community of motorcyclists should grow. Unless it shrinks because it alienates so many people, but who knows. Next up, cons of operation. As an experienced rider, I enjoy actually working the gears, I enjoy doing the rev matching, I enjoy operating an internal combustion engine with all the complexities that that involves on a daily basis. I enjoy it. You know, so if that's all done away with, will I enjoy motorcycling as much? I'm not sure. We'll have to see. In summary, quick summary, I've got 5 points here. EV motorcycles intrigue me. Very interested in how they develop. I like the look of them. I like the concept. Will I like them enough that when they inevitably replace internal combustion bikes, I'll still be, you know, an avid biker? Who knows? Probably, but maybe enjoy it just a little bit less. I'm pleased to see that they're capable of genuinely good performance figures. The Lightning that we mentioned earlier on would be a prime example. However, I feel that they've got a long way to go to be genuine contenders for internal combustion bikes. Battery technology has to shrink and be able to hold more charge to truly compete. And also as well, infrastructure has to improve, and times to maximum charge have to be dramatically reduced as well. So these are huge hurdles to overcome to bring EV motorcycling in line with internal combustion engine motorcycling for me. Would I have one in the garage? As an addition to my current garage, absolutely yes. A Lightning LS218 would be an amazing addition to the garage, and I'd be very pleased to own one. I'd use it all the time probably. As a replacement to my petrol or gasoline bikes, absolutely not. Just couldn't justify getting rid of either of these two machines for one of those, for all the reasons that I've mentioned before. That's it. That's what I've got. I hope that was good. It's been a long time since I've sat in front of a camera and delivered a video like this. But if you liked it, please do let me know in the comments down below. Drop a like on the video. Like and subscribe. We get so many people that come to the channel, view the content, and then come back to the channel later, but they're still not subscribed. So please, if you do like the content, subscribe. And it just lets me know that I'm doing a decent job here at the Bike Channel. Thank you for watching. I hope you stay safe, I hope you ride safe, whether it be on a electric motorcycle or an internal combustion motorcycle. And I hope to see you back here in the garage on the Bike Channel once again very soon for another video next Wednesday. Thank you, goodbye.